I'm Mike AD, and welcome to the Delta League Podcast. Season 3 is upon us, and now we're in the preseason. So, there's been a lot of changes since the second season ended, but much of that will be covered in our Season 3 preview coming up in a few weeks, including the trades. Lots of trades, lots of players retiring, lots of stuff going on behind the scenes, in front of the camera, behind the camera, to the camera. So, let's get on with it. With the preseason week 1. And this one comes from the international series of games that the league is hosting. And in this one, it's Chicago versus Salt Lake City versus Vancouver from Sydney, Australia. And in this one, Chicago wins. Chicago 30, Vancouver 13, Salt Lake City 5. Now, for Chicago, Evan Parawal scored 8 goals. Venus Pilar scored 7 goals. And Fab Whittlesey had 7 blocks. For Vancouver, Isaac Parker Johnson. That's going to take a little bit of time to get used to. Yeah. Isaac Parker Johnson now plays for Vancouver. He had 5 goals, and Romeo Da Rosa had 8 blocks. For the Orcas, Ana Maria Chavez tore her triceps, and she's done for the year. Now, prior to the season, Vancouver player A.J. Stork was already in a very public spat with coach Rory Hannon over his playing time, based on the roster situation in Vancouver with Ana Maria Chavez going down. He's almost guaranteed himself a place on the roster for the rest of the year. Now, Salt Lake City player Hobo Mickelson plays for Salt Lake City now. He got carded twice for coming onto the court when he was a scratched player in this match. This means 2 black cards and a 3-game suspension. After this game, Chicago sent rookie Fish Miller to Milwaukee for a 4-week conditioning stint. They were not happy whatsoever. Now, let's move on, where Seattle was playing Philadelphia and Portland from Tokyo, Japan. And in this one, Seattle opens up a veritable can of whip-ass and then some. Seattle 70, Philadelphia 13, Portland 8. Now, for Seattle, Marnie Johnstone had 19 goals, and James Corn had 11 goals. For Philadelphia, Griffin Bricker had 8 blocks. Now, this was a very memorable game for Philadelphia star Suzuki Sato, having this game played in his home country of Japan. Unfortunately, he missed the plane flight, and the coach told him, stay home. What a bummer that is. The second period intermission show in this game was also delayed, which really annoyed the Japanese crowd. Now, a marching band was also ejected from this game. Do the Japanese know how to have any fun whatsoever? Now, an investigation into illegal sports betting has found that Seattle's player Bernie Pukila, traded to Seattle in the offseason, was gambling against his own team, and he hadn't even played a single game yet for the Pirates because he was traded there, in the offseason, no word so far as to whether any draft picks will have to be forfeited for a player that will figuratively be banned for life. But this is a definite kick in the balls right from the get-go. Now, in addition, Portland player North Malikian has torn his groin. He'll be out 6 weeks. Now, scratched Seattle player Robin Gunn got black-carded in this match for being involved in a on-court incident with Portland player KC Snapper, who responded to Seattle player Mike Musso being carded for taking out teammate North Malikian, which strained his LCL. Now, 4 players ended up with cards, 2 of them with suspensions. What a freaking mess on international soil. Holy smokes. Now, let's move on now to New York, who was playing Memphis and Atlanta live from Dubai in the Emirates. And in this one, New York wins. New York 23, Memphis 18, Atlanta 5. Now, for New York, Rhino Montalban had 5 goals. For Memphis, Shep Forsberg had 6 goals. And Jack Charette had 6 blocks. Now, Memphis player Jack Charette has also severely broken his nose. That's a 2-week recovery time. A very ugly, severe break. It looks horrible. Now, suspended New York player Kevin Vandermerve has lost his father. As a result, he did not travel with the team. God frickin' speed. Now, New York player Adolphe Messier started his career off with some great drama where he performed CPR on a fan. No word as to if the fan survived, but rest assured, the fan never thought he'd be saved by a guy named Adolphe. Now, New York captain Mohamed Carnasale has rustled some feathers when it became known that he has a controversial podcast. Mohammed is a former Muslim, and he's extremely critical of Islam. New York's large Muslim population is upset, to say the least. Now, let's move on to where Toronto is playing Washington and Dallas from London, England. Now, in this one, Toronto wins. Toronto 26, Washington 17, Dallas 7. Now, for Toronto, Curly Barnabani had 6 goals, and for Dallas, Anatoly Schaefer had 14 blocks. Now, fans got their money's worth in this one because after the game, Lone Stars coach Dennis Ulbricht tossed all the chairs onto the court, and that's going to cost some money. But based on the projections for this year, Dennis is going to be tossing so many chairs, he's going to change his occupation to interior design. Now, let's move on to Denver, who is playing Detroit and Boston from Stockholm, Sweden. And in this one, the reigning champions win. Denver 38, Detroit 10, Boston 8. Now, for Denver, Cyrus Holleran had 10 goals. Now, suspended Boston player Colby Dominguez got involved in this game, receiving an automatic black card. As a result, his suspension has been extended to an additional 9 games. His scheduled return will now be delayed until week 12. Now, let's move on to Montreal, who is playing Baltimore and Miami from Paris, France. And in this one, a very low-scoring affair, but Montreal wins. Montreal 18, Baltimore 8, Miami also 8. Montreal captain Edwin Milligan strained his LCL. He'll be out 3 weeks. After the game, Miami player Marquette Weaver stepped down as captain, citing extreme stress is causing him terrible gastrointestinal symptoms. Taking his place will be assistant captain Kipper Grimmett. Now, in this one, holy moly, look at the cards. Kern Nataraja, yellow card. Ivan Brody, Baltimore, yellow card. Arnold Morel, Baltimore, yellow card. Kurt Michaelis from Miami, yellow card. Joe Kirsch, Miami, yellow card. I think this week there was almost 21 cards given out in 7 games. They're anxious to get going. Now, lastly, it is Los Angeles versus Las Vegas versus Phoenix, live from Mexico City, Mexico. And in this one, Phoenix wins. Phoenix 42, Los Angeles 21, Las Vegas 6. For Phoenix, Ash Malik. Now, he plays for Phoenix now. He had 10 goals. There was an incident with a suspended player, Neil Laskin, getting involved on the court when teammate Janice Ulrich was black-carded for an on-court incident. As a result, his suspension has been expanded to an additional 3 games. In addition, Phoenix player Jules Dassault is being praised for an act of heroism, as this week he pulled a young girl out of a burning car. See? Delta players aren't all assholes. Now, that will be it for this week in Delta League, but the preseason continues next week from the National Showcase of Games. On Monday, it will be Los Angeles versus Baltimore versus Phoenix, live from San Francisco, California. On Wednesday, it's Vancouver versus Toronto versus Montreal, live from Edmonton, Alberta. Then, on Saturday, it's Philadelphia versus New York versus Las Vegas from Pittsburgh, PA. Memphis versus Miami versus Portland from New Orleans, Louisiana. Then Chicago versus Detroit versus Salt Lake City from St. Louis, Missouri. Then it's Seattle versus Atlanta versus Boston from Minneapolis, Minnesota. And lastly, Dallas versus Denver versus Washington, live from Houston, Texas. Join me next week for the final week of the preseason, where the chaos will undoubtedly resume. See ya.